Alrighty.
Star Wars.
We just saw one of them, Star Wars. We got some money and went and saw Star Wars.
Yeah, we saved up for, oh God, decades.
Decades. And this is the last, I guess the last of the, what they're calling the Skywalker saga. They couldn't say complete saga anymore because they already used that with episode 3. They couldn't say that anymore. So, you know, it's, yeah, it's kind of like the end of this cycle of films, I guess. And now they're just free to make whatever, which is
Maybe
cool.
they'll do remakes like they are with all the rest
With
of
all
the
the Disney
movies.
remakes? Yeah, yeah. So
I wouldn't put it past Disney to do that.
Right, to remake that. Yeah, we just got out. So
Zac Efron as Luke.
He's not getting up there, but he's a little older even than Mark Hamill was. So
yeah, they'll have to. I'm not in the.
Little de-age
I'm not
Zac
in the
Efron.
fold of. Yeah.
Little de-age him.
Probably some. They'll get a newer Disney Channel kid.
Yeah, they'll get some baby from Disney Channel. Anyway, so we just got out pretty much just a little while ago. It's a long one. I think it was.
It's not as long as
Attack of the Clones. Nope.
It's also not as long as another one. I forget which one.
Is it not as long as Revenge of the Sith?
No, it's the third longest.
Okay, so episode 2 and 3 were longer. So this isn't the longest. Everyone's making it seem like it's this big long ordeal, but we've sat through longer ones before. So anyway, so this is kind of the, I would say this is more of a trilogy capper, but it's kind of a culmination of all of the films. Didn't have as many references to all of them as, I guess, if you want to call Palpatine being there a reference to all of them, I guess. And he did straight up quote himself from episode 3. That was tight.
That was good. Yeah, I enjoyed that.
I pretty much, this is probably one of my favorite openings of any of them.
Yeah, it's a good opening.
The only thing I would have preferred is if at the beginning when Kylo was like just kind of tearing through a bunch of people, that it actually was Mustafar instead of just another lava planet that looked like Mustafar. It didn't look
like it was a lava planet either.
I thought it was
It just looked like it was on fire.
Just on fire all the time?
Yeah.
We have continuous forest fires. We need to put them out. No, man, it's our thing. It's our forest fires. That's our terrain. There's the forest planet. There's the water planet.
That's what they're doing.
There's the forest fire planet.
Yeah, it's based on Australia.
It's right. There's the big spider planet. There's the, all kinds of.
But yeah,
so
that was pretty disappointing that it wasn't Mustafar. It could have been.
Yeah, because
and it was only disappointing because it seemed like it was gonna be
Mustafar, and Mustafar has actual Sith significance.
Yeah, like why wouldn't he put some? Well,
Vader's castle is actually built over a Sith temple, and of course there's the big fight that
so Sith holocron being there would make sense.
Yeah, and it turns out I guess it wasn't a Sith holocron; it was a Wayfinder.
I think it's a type of holocron.
It's knowledge. It's knowledge. So it's triangular like a holocron. So we're just gonna say
a holocron is just like a USB, and it's a type of USB to do a specific thing.
Yeah, right.
It's still a holocron.
Which in this case is find the planet Exegol. Which
it was a little disappointing that that's all it was.
What?
That all it was a Wayfinder instead of having
a bunch of
some other stuff.
Yeah. We're getting kind of ahead. So Palpatine's pretty much in the first scene. So Kylo finds Palpatine. And we're not going to run through the whole plot, but there's a lot going on. A lot happens in the first, half hour, 45 minutes. There's a cat. There's no cats in the movie, but that was the really big disappointing thing. I was hoping that they would tie back to that part with the cats from episode 1.
Well, they're going to do that, I think, with the new movie coming out, Cats.
Cats, yeah. That's actually in the same universe as Star Wars. So
alright. We'll just cut
that part.
This bit out.
Yep. So yeah, I really liked it. It was it's a lot to process though. There's a lot happening, whereas the last one felt like kind of like a middle film, was a lot of just breathing room. There was not as many scenes, but the scenes were longer. If that makes any sense. This one was like plot, 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 end. Like it was very like it just moved. It was super fast, just like a J.J. Abrams movie. It felt more like Force Awakens, except there was more plot this time. Whereas in the first J.J. Abrams one, Force Awakens, he had like a guidebook. He's like, okay, and then you get the super weapon, and then you get the, you know. But if I had to pick out of the three of these, I would say The Last Jedi is still my favorite. But I understand why a lot of people don't like that one. Those people are wrong. But no, but I understand. But it took me a while. I didn't know how to feel about Last Jedi when I first saw it. It took me multiple viewings to kind of learn to appreciate it a lot, and I love it now. But this one is like I knew I liked it after it was over for sure. But it's a lot to process. Like it's a lot.
I think I like it more than both of the other ones.
Yeah.
Yeah, The Force Awakens was.
You enjoyed it.
Derivative.
Yeah, derivative.
Bullshit.
Worst episode ever. No, I'm just kidding.
It's not good.
But you liked it. You liked it when it came out. You liked it.
I know, but like as I
was it like the euphoria of a new Star Wars, and it was actually competently made kind of thing? Because it was competently made. Like the acting was good.
It was on.
It was not awkward. Like a lot of the stuff in the prequels.
Serviceable.
Yeah.
In like acting and dialogue.
There's a new generation of kids who are younger than us, because we kind of grew up with the prequels, but we were still a little bit older. Whereas people younger than us, they're very vocal on the internet.
I was 9 when the episode 1 came out.
I was 11. So you had to have been like 10.
Yeah, you're old.
I'm old. So, but there's kids that are younger.
It came out in May.
Right, you're right. So there's kids though that are younger than us who you know, they got trashed all the time because they try to enjoy the prequels, and then there was older kids who
we got trashed all the time.
No, we got trashed all the time. But I wouldn't say that I feel like we're a little more what do you call it? I feel like we're a little more objective because there's
not then.
Not then. No. That's what I'm saying. There's a whole generation of kids who were a little younger than us, who grew up with the prequels like from when they were like 4 or 5, and they can't be objective about those movies because they're trying to say like those movies were better than like, and I'm just like, okay, there's things about them that are better than the new ones, but as films they're not as well made. Like they're not like acting and set, you know,
the new movies,
the cinematography
have better acting, dialogue, characterization, all the like sort of
tenets of filmmaking.
But they don't have a better story.
No, you're right. The prequels, I think, actually
which
have
is like
the best
the
story.
foundation.
The prequels, I think, have the best story, but it's just
and they also don't have any passion behind them.
You don't think so?
They were made in a boardroom.
You think so? You think it was like that?
It definitely feels that way.
Because I mean, they've pretty much gone on record that they just let Rian Johnson do whatever he wanted, and
No, I know, but
there was like no problems with his production. Like,
but he
wrote it.
He
too.
was brought in to do this because they wanted to make this thing, and they wanted to make it not because they had an idea, but like
they had to make the next one, kind of thing. Like, and
a good example of a movie series that is like not made by the people who write and direct it, but still has passion behind it, is the Marvel movies. Because Kevin Feige wants to make those movies because he wants to make those ones, not just because he wants to make.
I would agree to the point that the kind of movies that come out from Marvel are not a lot of the time the ones you expect. Sure, we get the sequels occasionally, but you know, like there's some ones coming out now that you're just like, that's cool that they're doing that, because that's not what I would think that they would make.
Yeah.
They're making it because they want to make it.
And it went the way it did, unlike the way DC did when there was no passion
where they
behind it,
where
there
they
wasn't a
realized
person-
they had to make a cinematic universe,
Yeah.
and they're
and
like,
there
what do we
wasn't
do?
a guy
And sure enough,
or a team of people that wanted to be like, let's do this because they liked the
Yeah.
content. They just wanted to.
and they learned their lesson because Justice League.
Yeah, and this
Flopped
feels
hard.
like a lot like that. I was telling when they got into, it was near the end when they got into Rey's history and all this stuff,
Mhm.
that this trilogy feels a lot like, it's like the cursed child of Star Wars.
Really?
Did you not read that? It's the Harry Potter, like,
Talking about the whole
8th
trilogy? Or are you
Yeah.
talking about the Rise of Skywalker?
no, the whole trilogy in general has that feel.
I don't know, man.
Because it doesn't need,
Cursed Child is pretty bad.
I don't mean in terms of quality, because I do like this trilogy more.
Are you talking about like, and then this happened
Yeah,
kind of thing?
and then this
Like,
happened, and then look what happened to the kids, and this, especially with this last movie, it's like, oh, and the bad guy is relevant again, and he had kids that he never would have had. Like, why would Palpatine have had children? It doesn't make
Yeah.
sense.
I mean, I
really.
guess he had a kid. He had kids when he was
Mhm.
a senator, you know, and then that were never mentioned, and then they had a kid.
Which was right.
And I guess Darkseid skips a generation because the
Apparently.
boy, I don't know if it was the son of the. Did they actually go
Yeah, it
into
was
like
the father.
the father? I guess he had nothing to do with the Force. He was just like a guy. He's just,
Yeah.
He's just man guy.
It would have been better if Rey was a. Well, they never. I thought they would get into this too. How Anakin was created by the Force.
I thought they'd get into a lot of things they didn't get into.
Yeah.
I feel like this movie wanted to be 3 hours long, and then they weren't allowed to be 3 hours long.
It would have been better if. I don't think it needed to be.
Didn't
they
need it,
could have
but I
just
feel like there
done-
was more probably to be explored with. Like, there was a lot to take in because.
If they wanted to do the Rey Palpatine thing, they should have done it as Rey was created by his
like cloning
Force
whatever
Force stuff, like not
Force
intentionally maybe.
That whole concept though, like I didn't think when I thought about it at first when he said that he was basically all the Sith in a way, like the spirits of all the past Sith. Almost like he was beyond Palpatine. He wasn't just Palpatine. He was like the Sith Empire coming back in a way. I thought that was cool because
That's right.
yeah, I mean,
Wasn't that what the Sith Emperor was in the Old Republic? Something like
probably.
that.
There's stuff like Old Republic is still the one piece of Legends that hasn't been directly contradicted yet. So I think they just kind of mine stuff from that when they can, and they don't. Nice.
There was
But anyway.
a lot of stuff that I was hoping for that I didn't get.
Yeah.
Um,
I'm still hoping for more references with Anakin and stuff. Now from the Obi-Wan show. If Hayden isn't in the Ewan McGregor Obi-Wan show and like a flashback to the Clone Wars or something, because he's really involved with the community now and he's a good sport. And, you know, with the de-aging thing, like, they could definitely do, like, cool tie-ins with him. You okay?
I'm trying to warm my injection.
Oh, okay. So, by him not being in this, I thought
He
I'd be
was.
more mad. He was. He had
technically,
He had a
so
line.
was Samuel.
So did a bunch of
Ashoka was also in it.
She had a
The
line.
person that
Huh?
voiced Ashoka. I thought
I was so overwhelmed by that scene that I wasn't able to catch every voice. I was only able to catch all the voices and
well, I
remember.
stayed for the credits.
Oh, you
See,
did?
They had a section, Voices of the Jedi.
Fuck. Should have stayed.
Mm.
You know what I was going to stay because I thought they would they would play stuff from all the movies like the music. I was hoping they would play Duel of the Fates.
They
Played
tiny bit
there
of
was an
that?
operatic score, but I bet we could hear it better if we buy the soundtrack because
There
it
a
was really
prequel,
loud.
There was some prequel music in it.
There was. In
That
fact,
was
there
nice,
was
but-
some stuff from episode 2 that surprised me. that I liked.
But I would have definitely liked on their journey
to find the Wayfinder.
To hunt the little scavenger hunt that they went on. It would have been cool to see both new planets and old planets that had relevance in the past.
Like, why
Before
not?
this came out, we were talking about Naboo being there. It would have made sense if Naboo was there because that's where Palpatine was from.
What if they went to an old residence of his, or there was like...
Would have been awesome.
Because that's the thing is that like
not that he would care about Naboo, but why not?
Now don't get me wrong. J.J. Abrams made a solid movie here, but because he's J.J. Abrams and even though he's very amicable, he doesn't give two shits about the prequels. The stuff that he did reference, he probably begrudgingly referenced. I really don't think I think he did as much as he could to not have references. If someone else had made it, say like someone else who actually really liked all of the movies, or at least kind of understood why you should maybe reference all of them in the last movie, there would have definitely been more references.
It makes it seem like this trilogy is so separate from everything else.
Because every episode, it's all new planets. Mm-hmm. Like, the closest they get to an older planet is, well, not just a celebration at the end, with just little clips. But they go to a world called Kef Bir, which is another moon of Endor, which some of the wreckage of the Death Star ended up. Now, as much as I think Endor, as far as the Star Wars planet goes, is kind of just meh, because it's just a forest, and we grew up around a forest, so it's not that impressive to us. It would have been cool if they went to Endor, like the moon of Endor that we're used to. Kef Bir looked fine. It kind of looked like Dantooine.
With water on it.
With water on it. And I know that there's more than one moon of Endor, but
they totally could have. Because we haven't seen all of Endor, they could have had some water on...
We've seen Endor in the movie, in Return of the Jedi. You can see that there's big bodies of water.
Yeah, there you go.
So...
And it might have been, like, jarring to see, like, Endor again in a totally different, like, with...
But that's the thing. Cool, that's connective tissue that would have helped. Endor, look, it's not the most exciting Star Wars planet, but it would have been something. It would have been a planet we've seen.
I'm not sure why. I guess they just wanted to do a different planet.
And that's the thing, is that like they do different planets for every single one now. And it's like what the prequels did was that what they would do is they would have a couple of callbacks. They would have planets from a previous episode, and then they would add a few more.
Yeah.
Just like in the...
It's important.
Yeah.
And in the original trilogy, we have... new planets, obviously. Every new planet in A New Hope is new. Empire does totally new planets, right? I don't think they did.
Then they brought back Dagobah in Return of the Jedi.
And Tatooine.
And Tatooine. Actually, we've, I think, had this discussion where Jedi is kind of lacking in the imagination department when it comes to planets.
I like that they brought back Tatooine, even though the Tatooine part is too long.
It was a different part of it, though. It was like Jabba's palace,
and it's also like important for like the hero to go back to where he started, and
right.
And they didn't go back to Jakku, which
even though we're not fans of Jakku, but it's like maybe they should have gone back to Jakku. At least it would have been a planet that's appeared before.
I do like that it ended on Tatooine.
That was one scene, but
it's one scene. It's not relevant to the story at all.
She's living there now. Which is
cool.
Live
there? I don't think she lives there.
I think she's gonna live there. I honestly think she's like, all right, war's over. And it's a nice place.
Why would she live there?
She
grew up in the desert. Now she's going back.
She's used to it, and it actually has cities. It has a little bit of civilization.
I don't think she's gonna. I hope she. Well, it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter.
She's not real.
She should live on Mustafar. It's a nice place.
There's so many other.
Vader's castle is presumably just sitting there. But
they could have gone to Coruscant, to the Emperor's old palace. That would have been neat. To see that again. I did like. I will say this, just to be. I know we're sounding really negative right now. I will say this: they didn't just go to the throne room.
they went to a different part of the throne room.
That was
cool.
cool.
That there was a room
of who she was,
and there was the Wayfinder there. That was awesome because now you can watch Return of the Jedi and like make that reference. Like you can sort of be like, you know, this isn't everything there is to the Emperor.
Yeah.
So there's another room hidden away. You know what I mean? Like
I like parts of the movie. I really like the beginning part.
Yeah.
It was really great. They just like this movie's gonna be weird. Here's the Emperor right away.
Here's some Snoke clones.
Here's some prequel. Like, remember what he said in Episode 3? He's gonna say that again.
Here's
really
some weird
cool
Snoke
space stuff.
Yeah, here's some Snoke clones.
Yeah, Snoke clones.
Well, I thought you said you liked the movie though.
I did.
It's hard. I think you'll like it more, maybe.
Not as much as I could have. You know, not as much. I think it's the best one out of the 3.
I mean, you'll probably see it again, right?
In theaters, I don't really see. I didn't even see Endgame more than once in theaters, and I like.
You don't see a lot of movies multiple. You know what? I don't as much as I used to anymore either. Not to say I don't, but I have more patience. I can wait.
Yeah,
I can wait. I saw Rogue One 3 times though, and I saw Force Awakens.
I saw
twice.
Bohemian Rhapsody twice, even though it was like.
But I saw Rogue One 3 times, and I saw Revenge of the Sith 3 times. Force Awakens twice. Last Jedi.
I think I saw Last Jedi twice. I don't remember. Actually, I don't know, but I usually don't see movies more than once.
So it doesn't really mean to the quality. It just means that
no.
You're fine with watching it on video.
Yeah.
On video, as you know, on Betamax.
Laserdisc.
Laserdisc.
I might go see it again. The more I like a movie, the less I want to see it again. Because, like...
Yeah.
I want to keep that, like, first...
Mm-hmm. And I know it sounds like we're being, like, hypercritical.
And I've still only seen Endgame once. I haven't watched it yet.
You know, it's one of those movies that isn't crazy rewatchable. Because it's really a lot.
It's also 3 hours long.
It's 3 hours long. I don't even watch it. I've seen Infinity War only twice.
Yeah.
And because it's a lot to take in. And it's kind of depressing. Dude, I know I'm not. I know how you feel about the Harry Potter movies, but even if you did like them, put yourself in my shoes. I've only seen part 2 of Deathly Hallows twice total.
That's not a good movie.
I meant that not because I loved it, but it's not very rewatchable because it's really like sad and like really emotional.
No, it's not. Compared to Deathly Hallows Part 1.
Deathly Hallows Part 1 is better. But anyway, we're getting off track.
It's better and it's also sadder.
We can do that. Yeah, I know.
It also ends on like a
probably wrap it up.
Tragedy.
Yeah, that's true.
You can edit shit out.
I know. No, I'm saying I only have so much memory on my phone. Probably.
What are you living in? 2008?
I don't know. I'm afraid it'll just cut off and then we won't have an ending.
Well, it's still going. How long have we been talking about this?
23 minutes.
That's all the time.
Yeah.
I did like it though.
Yeah, I liked it too.
There was some cool stuff. They got weird with the Force finally.
Finally.
I thought that Revenge of the Sith was gonna get weird with it, but they only talked about getting weird with it in that movie.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't really get weird with it.
Yeah. Last Jedi, they actually got a little weird.
Sort of. Yeah,
with the Force connection, and this took it a bit further.
That was neat. What they did with it.
Yeah, this was like Force healing, spiritual possession. That thing that the Emperor did, the lightning. Where he like destroyed everything. Storm. I was telling Zoe this. For a second, when he was rejuvenated by draining their life force or whatever, I was like, please get a lightsaber out. Please fight her. But then when he did the thing, I was like, he's so beyond lightsabers. It would be so dumb if he tried to fight her with a lightsaber.
I thought she was going to absorb the lightning instead of...
Oh, really?
Yeah, and shoot it back like Yoda.
Oh, right,
that would have been neat.
Yeah, that would be cool. Maybe she's just still not good enough to do that.
But she's so OP already.
Yeah.
That we've never seen a Jedi float with rocks except Yoda. And even he floated around on a little thing.
Yeah.
We've never seen a Jedi shoot lightning out of their hands.
That's true. But
She was so OP already because she was part of, like, had Palpatine's powers.
Yeah.
So
and also
she could have done that. I think it would have been cool to see a Jedi like sort of merge.
They mentioned
parts
this
of the dark side powers.
Yeah. And they mentioned this thing called the dyad, the two, and Snoke mentioned that when he said, "Darkness rises and light to meet it." I warned my young apprentice that as he grew stronger, his equal in the light would rise. Almost like the Force sort of creates a being to counter the darkness if there's someone who's a bit too powerful, growing in the darkness. But now we know, obviously, that she doesn't just congeal out of nowhere, but like Anakin did. but
which is never said in the movies, sort of. Implied.
She just said there was no father, and you're like,
yeah.
But was there? No.
That's true. I mean, they say that he was like
immaculately conceived.
Yeah, but it's never said that it came from what Darth Plagueis was doing. But we know that's canon, right?
Yeah,
but it's never said
because
in the movies.
The only thing that's canon right now, officially, about Darth Plagueis is what is said in Revenge of the Sith. Because the novel they did is Legends now. But they haven't contradicted it yet. So, like, to me, it's kind of like they haven't really technically contradicted Shadows of the Empire. Yeah. So sometimes I still think, gosh, Rendar, he's around. He's still a guy. But, like,
well, what happened, that makes sense. And it would have, because that's the thing, that if they clearly didn't know where they were going with this when they started out. Because there were so many things that sort of had to be forced in and like don't really make that much sense. Like Rey having parents and being abandoned, and the parents were, Palpatine had a kid, and then that kid had a kid. Okay, just it happened. You didn't hear about it. But it happened, right?
He had a kid.
He never mentioned this kid. It's his kid.
If they had look. I get that it's new information, but if they had a flashback where they kind of de-aged Palpatine, and he's on Naboo, and he has kids, or has a kid, and, you see him being senatorially or whatever, at least it would have been like, okay. I mean...
But that still would have been in this movie. There was nothing established before that.
No, I know.
Really makes this make sense.
But that's what I'm saying. It would have been at least... it would have been something, because you would have been able to visually connect Palpatine on Naboo with what you've seen in the movies before, and you would have been like, okay, so he had a kid or he had a family or something, and we just didn't.
Would he? He's a Sith Lord.
Sith Lord? No,
obsessed with his own immortality and his own power.
I thought it would be that just Palpatine made her.
That would have been better. Either intentionally or unintentionally.
Yeah.
Would have been better if she was just made.
Because they had the whole clone thing with Snoke.
So if I think it would have been better if it was more like Anakin, where his sort of like spirit essence or whatever sort
conceived,
of like went into a kid that was already being conceived.
Which I think is what, you said that's probably what it was with Anakin, right?
Yeah. And like, it's just sort of like...
With the midichlorians, okay? Nerds.
That her essence was... It wasn't like this direct granddaughter, but their connection was something more weird and... And something through the Force. Like how Harry Potter's connected to Voldemort. He's not his father, but he has his powers because he tried to kill him. Yeah, but not exactly that. Like, he doesn't go try to kill this person, but when he dies, part of his...
Look, they already are coming up with, like, they already have, like, the Sith acolytes or whatever the hell they were. Like, they already have, like, the Sith are, like, the spiritual essence of the Sith, or their spirits themselves are in Palpatine and all this stuff, and there's life transference and soul sucking and all this other stuff.
See some of the old Sith in reference to who they were, like Darth Bane, Darth Revan. Well, not Darth Revan because he changed back. But
like, instead of having 1,000 whatever those guys were in the audience, you couldn't even see who they were. They were obviously Sith worshippers or whatever. But instead of having like them, have like faceless, like kind of like only like maybe a dozen of them, but they're just like sort of faceless or whatever, and they are implied to be like the old Sith Lords or something, or like
Yeah.
but they're just there as like spiritual guidance for Palpatine or Rey or whatever.
I thought Exegol was a neat planet.
It was cool,
but
yeah. You need to watch Rebels because you'd appreciate that even more because they go to Sith like temples and stuff.
But Exegol is new, right?
It's new, yeah.
Well, they could have gone.
I think they want to try new stuff.
They do want to try new stuff, but
they want to add to the lore. They don't want to just use old shit.
Fine, but there's a bunch of lore.
Like, why didn't they go to... Why isn't it Morband?
Why isn't it Korriban?
Yeah.
Why isn't it? At least touch on Korriban.
Yeah. I mean, like, literally when 3PO was like, it's an ancient world of the Sith or something, right? The mysterious world. He could have mentioned, like Korriban or,
Yeah, like, why... What's special about this place? Why isn't it Korriban?
Yeah.
Because it makes it seem like this is the most important planet to the Sith when the Sith started out on Korriban. And all the temples were originally built on Korriban and all those statues.
Yeah.
This is a cooler looking planet.
Yeah, because Korriban is kind of just like a reddish desert. But it has big statues and stuff.
They could have done this, like if they made that planet have a reddish tint instead of a blue one, call it Korriban, would have worked. It would have worked fine.
Mm-hmm.
Would have been cool if they went to Korriban on their Sith scavenger hunt.
Instead of Pasana. I mean, that was cool, that festival thing. It was a little bit of civilization. They did do the thing that we asked them to do.
Instead of Pasana, that would have been... The celebration thing didn't matter at all.
I know it didn't matter, but at least it was... They had more civilization in this one than the other two. The other two did...
I barely call it civilization.
No, it was a big festival, and then they went to Kijimi, and that was like a city on the side of a mountain.
It was almost like a little village.
It was It was
nice that it was...
It was a town, I would say.
It was a town. And it looked like Skyrim-like, rather than Star Wars-y.
There was like technology, but it was also stone. And
it was like stone temples, and
they really liked that.
I wouldn't be surprised if you had like hay roofs and stuff.
The only futuristic looking city, besides the ending celebration with planets we've seen, in this trilogy is Canotica, the one with Canto Bight. Yeah, and it's like one resort city. Like there's like one. It's a remote desert world mostly, but there's like a resort on it. Like
which, yeah, they really should have.
They had Hosnian Prime and they blew it up.
Yeah. I also still like. Why wouldn't they use Coruscant? The New Republic.
They didn't want to blow
all
up
the
Coruscant,
infrastructure.
probably.
Yeah, except they never go back there. So why not? Why not? If they blew up Coruscant, that would have been like, oh fuck, that's crazy.
That's crazy.
But it's like Hosnian Prime. Oh, this planet no one cares about.
I mean, literally, it doesn't get named until after it blows up.
Right.
So
if they blew up Coruscant, since we aren't going back there anyway, since it's gonna be pointless, if they blew up Coruscant, that would have been like, shit.
I guess I would have pissed. I don't know. Think about how many people would be pissed off. How there could be no more stories there. Kind of like Alderaan feels like a waste now, even though it was a excellent plot point.
I mean, if you're gonna, all the stories can be in the past, take place in the past.
Yeah, because technology doesn't really progress all that much, so it all kind of looks, it looks similar.
Yeah, and you can also have, if you're gonna do new stories, you can have a Hosnian Prime, like.
And there's other city planets like Corellia and can.
But
whatever.
Yeah, it would have been more impactful if they destroyed Coruscant, and it would have made more sense if the New Republic was there, because all the infrastructure's there. They have a Senate building already, a galactic Senate.
The logic was what they did. The New Republic did was every time there was a new chancellor elected, they would move the capital to whatever the planet was that. So that was the second or third.
That's absurd. Imagine if we did that
I guess the idea is that so you don't put all your eggs in one basket. I don't know. But then they did because they had their whole New Republic fleet at Hosnian Prime. Yeah. By the way, the New Republic, it is destroyed. It's fucking gone. Because there's a big fleet that shows up, but it's just a bunch of people. It's not the New Republic at all. So
which is kind of
effectively
cool, it was just a bunch of guys.
That was cool. But basically, because this trilogy's over, that means that effectively the New Republic was completely destroyed in the first one.
And now, we don't. There's no government. It's just galaxies and chaos.
Yeah, the chaos. maybe Werner Herzog's right.
Now there's a power vacuum again, and it just follows the progress of any other civilization. There'd be a bunch of turmoil.
Yeah.
After this movie.
What is it going to be? The New Republic?
New Republic.
New Republic. They should call it something else because
they should decentralize. First of all, and not have a galactic government at all.
Just have different areas control whatever. Isn't that what the Moffs did though? But they controlled it through intimidation and fear.
No, they were part of a galactic empire.
Yeah.
No, I mean no.
But I'm saying, remember, the regional governors will have direct control of their territories or whatever.
But that was a centralized government.
Still, yeah.
Sort of delegating rulership over place. I'm talking about just.
Yeah.
Just I don't know. Doing their own thing.
They have their work cut out for them, I think is what.
I don't care. It's not a real. I'm just being political.
No. I'm just saying if they made a show that was after, that would be crazy. If they made a show that took place after, and it's just a guy in the middle of the desert going, "What now? What do we do?"
So they never touched on the Force-sensitive kid in The Last Jedi.
That was just, I think, to show that there's always going to be Jedi, and now they're inspired, and then they did show up. They did show up at the end, not the kids, but how people are inspired by what Luke did.
That's
eventually.
Very nice. But they touched on these Force-sensitive kids, and Rey's the only one with any knowledge of the Jedi left.
She has those books, yeah.
So she.
I got an idea.
Getting them together and training. I think they really. The Jedi. It should have ended with some sort of definitive end to both the Jedi and Sith, and sort of moving on from that.
You think the dichotomy. Jedi really?
It should have,
because that's kind of what The Last Jedi was about. But then they kind of were the Jedi don't have to end; they just have to change. They just have to change. They don't have to be whatever middle or whatever. It's just they need to not be like they were in the prequels, where it was this. They got too big for their britches, and they were dogmatic. And they made so many mistakes, and they were, you know what I mean? Luke talked about it. He was like,
"Yeah, I know."
Fucked up.
But I think it would have been cool to see an ending of that philosophy.
There was a rumor, and this might have been part of the script at some point. It could have been totally made up by somebody, put out there as a rumor, or it could have been actually something that was part of the writing process that got out there. That the word Skywalker would basically be a replacement for the Jedi. That
I'm a Skywalker.
The Skywalkers, instead of the Jedi, but they didn't do that. It's not to say that would have worked, but that's an interesting idea.
Rey deciding she was a Skywalker at the end was.
I'm okay with that, because it's you really want Ben to be the last. I don't know. And it's in 1,000 years, who's going to remember, oh, she technically wasn't a Skywalker. Yeah, but didn't Anakin come from nowhere? It's no, she essentially is a Skywalker now. She can, yeah, sure. Why not? Because there's no one left, so it's Shmi's not around anymore. Maybe she had a sister. I'm wondering if she had a whole side of the family, and there's technically still Skywalkers around. But
it was a predictable movie at times. I saw a lot of things coming.
Mm-hmm. There were some things in it though that were pretty oh.
Yeah.
That was Ben straight up just being Ben for the last 45 minutes of the movie was not what I expected. I figured he'd be Kylo Ren, like, for pretty much the entirety of the movie.
You know what I
the
thought
very end.
would have been neat?
But maybe that was too much like Vader.
Yeah, but you know what would have been neat? Was if, you know how in Jedi, Luke, the Emperor's antagonizing Luke, and then Luke finally is like, gets angry and tries to kill him, and then Vader stops him from killing him.
And they have their fight.
Because Vader's still serving the Emperor.
Right.
And that was part of the Emperor's point. They could have done a parallel of that, a callback to it, in sort of a different way, where in this, because the Emperor's trying to get Rey to kill him so he can inhabit her body or something.
Yeah.
Which, again, would have made a lot more sense if she was created instead of just a granddaughter from a parent, from his kid that we've never heard of. Anyway, so it would have been neat if we see Kylo coming, and then he succeeds in getting her to, like, get angry, or not get angry, but sort of like do it to save her friends or whatever.
Right.
To try to kill him, and then Kylo force gets the other lightsaber and then stops her from doing it like that, but for a totally different reason than Vader did. It was for Rey's sake instead of the Emperor's sake.
Yeah, because he wants to protect. I thought it was cool though, because I thought it'd be weird.
It was cool what they did.
I mean, like, with Ben being Ben, because you know what, Kylo being Kylo to the bitter end, just like Vader, would have been too similar. I kind of like that.
No, I didn't mean that.
No. I know what you're talking about. I was just saying I liked also that he was just like Ben for the last like bit of it, and he got to use his dad or his grandfather's lightsaber. It was Rey who was using Leia's. See, that's why I was like, I've been holding off on those Black Series lightsabers.
I would have liked if her saber was different, a different color than blue. Leia's, I mean. Yeah,
I think I've been holding off on a new Black Series, like a Black Series lightsaber, because I was like, what if Leia had a lightsaber? I was like, and sure enough, she does, and they should make it because I would buy it. Or Rey's lightsaber that lasts like 5 seconds and it looks awesome.
Rey's lightsaber was cool.
It was. She made it out of her. She made it out of her staff.
I thought it was going to be double bladed.
Yeah.
At first,
maybe
because her staff's like a.
I knew Dark Rey would be just like a vision. People saying like, when people say like, why do people say like, I hope she goes to the dark side? You're like, why? Because that's a bad story.
That's not a bad story. That would have been if she goes to the dark side for a little bit.
For a bit, maybe, but they were trying to make it seem like, oh, she should just go to the dark side.
I'm like, what if they did this? If they,
it's against her nature.
Well, it's not really.
Well, I mean, like, she's got too good of a heart to just be like completely like dark side like that. When she does like the Bilbo thing, like she does her teeth.
But if I'm a big fan of sort of when the good side and the bad side of something come together finally,
right?
Instead of
one triumphs over the other,
one just winning over the other.
Right.
But like stories where, like in The Matrix,
there was a compromise made.
Yeah. Where
everyone hated that, but
I like those types of stories.
It was good though, and it was the only thing that made sense because
this light side beats dark, and then dark comes back and tries to be light, and blah blah blah. This whole thing.
Right,
it would have been really cool if at the end, she was like, these two things don't have to like be the enemies of each other. Like I don't have to be evil to use Force lightning.
Yeah.
I don't like. You can have these dark side things without being an evil person, and sort of. Well, and you don't need to be this light side, annoyingly righteous
person,
Jedi type to be.
Well, we know that because of the prequels, like how they were
Yeah, no, yeah.
They weren't bad people, but they were like really just, especially like Mace Windu. He was like kind of an example of.
But they were being manipulated by the Sith Temple or whatever that was under.
And also just the whole idea, even without that thing that was added later. Even without that, they were clouded. Their vision was clouded of everything because of the Emperor, or of Palpatine, I guess at the time. But like,
I'm a big fan of like sort of these two sides that are always warring. If at the end a character's like, I'm not gonna fight with you anymore. Let's just
chill.
And both sides sort of like transform into something different.
Yeah.
So the Jedi are like, as it were dissolved. So are the Sith, and now it's something new. That would have been neat.
I guess we'll have to wait for another.
For what?
Another trilogy or another. Whatever. I'm interested to see because the Game of Thrones guys, I think their trilogy is on hold. Ryan Johnson's supposedly still, yeah. I think Ryan Johnson's still, as far as like just a few weeks ago.
It's not a trilogy though.
He's just working on a film.
And he never, he was like, he said, I don't know where you got the idea of trilogy, but.
He's working on a movie at least.
He's working on a project.
Could be a show. Could be a movie.
Could be a comic.
Could be post Rise of Skywalker. I would like to see that because right now the most interesting thing going on with Star Wars is The Mandalorian, and that's post Return of the Jedi, and a really interesting time period, I think. And we got to see a little bit of the New Republic finally back in the last episode, and that was cool.
I haven't seen it.
You haven't seen episode 6 with Bill Burr?
Oh yeah. I totally forgot about that.
That was a New Republic ship with the droids and everything, and then the officer.
Yeah. I totally forgot.
Yeah, that's technically new. That's the first time we've really
that's neat.
Seen.
I totally forgot.
Literally,
about that part.
there's the first episode of Resistance, and that's like it that we've seen of the New Republic. Like that's it. And then it gets obliterated. Anyway, so we'll probably I'll probably try to do like a more in-depth review once I've seen it again.
More in-depth than 47 minutes.
We're just rambling, but I like the movie.
It was good, but not as good as it could have been.
Would you give it out of like a 10 right now?
I don't know. Out of a 10 in the context of Star Wars movies?
Mm-hmm.
Well, Rogue One
is
a 10 out of 10.
Okay. What would be the lowest of your rankings? Out of the Skywalker... Oh, out of all of them, I guess.
I don't know. Maybe The Force Awakens?
Really didn't like that one, huh?
It's not that I don't like it. It's just that it's lower than
me, it's
the
still
rest
Attack
of
the Clones.
Or The Phantom Menace, maybe. The Force Awakens, Attack the Clones, and Phantom Menace are all kind of maybe like...
Be down there. Force Awakens is pretty low on my list, too. But it's not, like, terrible. I think I like it more than you.
I dislike it for way different reasons than Phantom Menace and Attack the Clones are down there.
Yeah.
Because the new movies have way better characterization, acting and dialogue, cinematography.
Yeah.
General sort of like they're
Production,
shot in a way more exciting way, and but the prequels have
better world building,
more passion behind them. They feel more authentic,
even if they're not great sometimes. Even if you know what I mean, like you can see that an artist
he could use some help.
Yeah, he tried to, Larry Kasdan, but you didn't want to make it with him. And then he came back and he wanted to make him.
And I don't know why his... Well, I guess he only wrote the dialogue, which was good. He didn't really do the story for Force Awakens, did he?
He wrote he helped write the script with JJ.
I know, but did he do the story beats, or did he do the dialogue?
He does mostly do the dialogue.
Right, so the dialogue was good in that movie, but the story
was just whatever.
A New Hope 2, Electric Boogaloo.
Yeah, Reloaded.
Yeah, it's not. It's not like. And then I don't know this with planet killers, more weapons on the Star Destroyers,
which they only used like briefly, which thankfully it wasn't like a big plot point.
I was hoping actually that they would somehow leave that system.
Yeah, they don't even leave.
And have some.
Oh, they do once. They send one out, right, to destroy.
Well, yeah,
Kojimi.
to destroy what's but start leaving that system, and maybe Rey stays there to
deal with the Emperor.
Yeah, deal with the Emperor, and if I don't know, whatever. I don't know how that would have worked. They could have forced it in somewhere like they did with everything else.
I would have preferred the planet killer gun thing to be like miniaturized Death Star tech, like it is, but it would have been cooler if it was like Jedha, where it didn't destroy the entire planet, but essentially it made it uninhabitable. Because
that would have been.
Because guess what? Jedha's destruction sequence way more interesting than any of the other planet blowing up things, because it wasn't like the whole thing just. Because that's not interesting to watch. I mean, it is. It's cool for like a second, but then it's over. Where Jedha was like this big sequence. It would have been cool if this big Death Star attack. It was essentially like firing at the Death Star, except on what do they call it when they didn't fire it at full capacity? They were like single reactor ignition. So it would be cool if that big gun on those Star Destroyers. I did that for a second. It'd be cool if that big gun on the Star Destroyer was like that, where it essentially destroyed the whole, like a whole section of the planet.
Yeah.
And there could even have been a cool sequence where maybe Zori, the chick that Poe knows, escapes. You know what I mean? And like, there's this big cool.
Yeah, and then she's suddenly there, and it's like, okay.
I mean, that shit happens in Star Wars all the time.
I know, but it would have been nice to see her.
Yeah, to actually see what happened. Yeah.
Yeah.
But like. See, that's the thing, is that, like, but JJ's like, how about we just blow up the whole planet? And it's like, you really want, like, blowing up planets.
He's a little extra, dude.
Huh?
He's extra.
Yeah, I know. This was probably the worst planet-destroying sequence in all of them. Even Hosnian Prime looked cooler. Like,
yeah.
Because it vaporized, like...
Where did his Star Destroyers come from? I guess over the years he's been, like,
creating like he's been creating a Sith fleet. You can imagine Emperor Palpatine, because it was sort of implied that the First Order was from Battlefront 2, remember, and everything, that the First Order kind of was bore out of the Emperor being like, okay, Empire, you failed me, so small group you, why don't you go into the unknown regions and start rebuilding, And even that, though, was just another arm of just a bigger plan of the final order. I guess the First Order was just like, you know. But, you know,
there's the first
if the
one,
Emperor was
the
never...
one.
Yeah, if the Emperor was never killed, though, it makes you wonder, it's like, would he have been fine with just the Empire? Or would he suddenly would have busted out the final order, like, at some point? So, like, was the Death Star just, like... You know what I mean? Like, he had to have developed the super weapons on the Star Destroyers.
I don't know what the difference is between the Final Order and the Empire. It's the same idea. Rule the galaxy with an iron fist.
Except it's like, how many planets was he going to destroy, you know, until people, I guess, stopped.
That was his plan with the Death Star, too.
That was his plan.
To rule
so he had to have developed those Star Destroyers, those miniaturized Death Stars, essentially, after the second Death Star. He had to have done it after, because... He was barely just making this... It's kind of like inventing new technology.
Who did it?
Yeah. There was people there. You could see that he had a whole Sith fleet.
Yeah, yeah.
But, like, who were they? They were just, like, people. They were just hanging out on Exegol. Like, why weren't they... It would have been cool if they were all droids. Like, if he just had a droid army, essentially, just...
And it wasn't the First Order working on this with his shadow help. It was other...
Completely other people who had redder uniforms, yeah, and they looked even more
and there were
evil.
red stormtroopers. What do they eat?
What do they do? Like, I want to know the life of a Sith trooper. I want to know his day on Exegol. Just what does he do? What does he do for 30 years? You know,
where do they come from?
Like every Wednesday, a Sith trooper walks up to Palpatine and it's like, now, and he's like,
no.
soon. You know, like
Soon.
soon. We're
It's always saying soon.
dude.
But like,
He's been saying
I'm starting
soon
to
for like
think
25 years. I'm starting to think that maybe he's just waiting.
that
for
it's
something.
not going to be that soon.
I know.
It
Anyway.
like might be a while because we've been here for like 20 years.
I know. There's like lots of
Like,
stuff going
where-
on that I want to be involved in. But
Where did they
there's-
come? We know where the First Order gets their kids or their stormtroopers is that they kidnap children. Was
See, that's
the
the
Empire
problem.
doing this
There's-
in secret, or not the Empire, but the Emperor?
See, that's the problem is that when you have like a giant, I don't want to say it's a Deus Ex Machina because that's not the right word, but it's an entirely new army that just is just there, and it starts to raise questions when you have it when it's
wasn't
people
hinted
there,
at before.
right?
It wasn't like there was a subplot in the past movies of like something going on in the background we don't really know, and then it finally comes out
No,
in this one. There's nothing like that. Sort of like an open question of, oh, that's weird, but let's shelve that and deal
because
with
they
this. And then
pretty
all
much
of a
just
sudden-
left the Starkiller base. Like that was a secret project of Emperor Palpatine. But that could have been a secret project of Emperor Palpatine. But that whole time he had like
He had other stuff going on, and if he had other stuff going on, what was the point of the First Order?
I guess just
Because he had all those.
pave
Why
the
wouldn't he?
way.
Why wouldn't pay the way? The First Order was. I mean, why wouldn't he just put all his efforts into this secretly building up his
Sith fleet,
Sith fleet?
and
instead of-
and just let the New Republic kind of exist for a little longer. And then, like, because, okay, the whole span of the new trilogy lasts about a year or so. So why not just let Hosnian Prime exist for another year and then just bust out the new Sith fleet? Just
all of a sudden,
out of a
I
sudden.
have all these fucking
planet destroying Star Destroyers.
and you're fucked. So
You're
I'm gonna sit there and just
Like,
move.
literally, they live up to their name now, Star Destroyers. And I'm sure they can fucking blow up a star, too,
Yeah,
probably. You know
and
what I mean?
his idea. Let's see. He wanted to get Rey to Exegol to possess her. Okay, he needs to do that before he can do anything else. I try to do that through Snoke, through Kylo,
Mhm.
by telling Kylo to kill her, but also I don't really understand his thinking.
We'll have to watch it again. It's convoluted, though. It is convoluted. It's a classic convoluted bad guy plan.
This is what happens. No, it's not. It's not. It's worse than that because this is what happens when you don't have a vision to start with and like have an idea of where you want to end up. Even if you don't have to have everything planned out. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
But they clearly didn't know the Emperor was coming back.
I think they did.
They didn't.
I think they did because I heard it was George's idea that maybe the Emperor was still around.
Okay, and they were like, maybe we'll do that.
And then they didn't. And then, like, well, let's do it now.
Yeah, I think that's how it went. They're like, well, let's do it because Ryan killed Snoke.
But that was cool.
I like
Sorry,
that.
that was cool.
I like that the Emperor
Because
is
it's
there.
like, what if Vader killed Palpatine? That's basically what they did with Kylo killing Snoke.
Yeah, I like that Snoke was
Just a guy.
like this. I like that part of it, that the Emperor is back. But it would have been better.
His
if
whole
they-
plan, though, it opens up, like, questions of, like, what was his ultimate, like, what was the point of the First Order if he had, like...
Yeah, if
whole
they knew
other-
where they were going with this from the start, I think they
'Cause
either could have done it in a lot better way without so much sort of like, yeah, his kids now. He had.
There was just a lot to
he was in
explain in
secret.
this one.
He was all in secret.
There was a lot to explain in this one, and it was a lot of plot because the first two didn't set it up at all.
Yeah.
So,
it
like,
didn't.
so they
They
had
set
to...
up other things. I liked. Well, I don't know about setup, but this one did a good job at like sort of taking. It does make the other two better, especially like
the
stuff
second
that didn't get resolved. That you're like, oh, I thought that was gonna happen in The Last Jedi,
one. Mhm.
like Luke's X-wing under the
Yeah,
water,
yeah.
and he doesn't take it.
I really thought it would just be left down there. I didn't even think about it.
But in this,
I didn't think Octo would be in it. Hey, that's one returning planet. They got one.
oh,
They
yeah,
got Octo.
They got one that was. All right.
Or Octo, or whatever the fuck it's called.
But I'm talking about it's not that they don't go to any planets contained in the trilogy they set up. They don't go to any
planets from the before.
Yeah, which makes it feel totally separate.
Cohesive.
It did a good job at doing a lot of, and I liked it. It was fun. It had a lot of cool action sequences.
Lightsaber battle was pretty good, I guess. It was more about the emotion of it. It wasn't that.
I didn't even notice that there wasn't a final lightsaber battle at all. There was a
You know what? I
lightsaber
think
battle.
Last Jedi, it pampered us for that. I think we're
Last
not.
Jedi wasn't a lightsaber battle.
No. What I'm saying, that's what I'm saying. I'm saying that now we feel like we don't absolutely need a final lightsaber battle anymore. We can have a lightsaber battle or some sort of.
There wasn't a final lightsaber battle in A New Hope either.
Yeah, there was. It was the end of Act 2.
Mm-hmm.
That whole concept was born out of Empire, and then Jedi, and then Episode 1, 2, and 3.
Episode 1 or 3 had
5 lightsabers
throughout the movie.
I know, because they thought that was the last one. So
that was cool. But no, they didn't need to do that with this. I didn't even know. That's not. I don't complain about that. That's
it was cool, but it was more like I liked that how much. It was more like the prequels with all the jumping, and that was cool because I thought there wasn't enough of that. But now that Rey is like more proficient, and so is Kylo, I guess they could jump around more and
I do like that there's a good explanation for why she's so overpowered. Because she is.
I mean, she knows how to fight because she grew up on Jakku.
No, I know. I'm talking about the Force.
Oh, the Force, yeah.
In this one, she gets even more overpowered, which is cool. I like that.
Mm-hmm.
The other two, she immediately knows how to Force trick. Well, not immediately, but she learns that pretty quick. After learning about it a few hours beforehand or something.
Mm-hmm.
And she's just super powerful, and it's like raw power in the first two a little bit. And she needs training and stuff, but she's an overpowered character, and it makes sense because of the Palpatine
that is
thing.
one thing that the Palpatine thing.
I like that. I like her connection with Palpatine. I just don't like how they did it.
And they should have set it up more.
And they should have set it up more, as in there's this backdrop thing that's going on. The characters aren't really paying attention to it because there's other stuff that they have to deal with that's more immediate.
The First Order.
But there's still this in the background, this shadowy mystery of
the Phantom Menace. There's another threat beneath it all.
Exactly. In the Phantom Menace, the main thing going on was the Naboo trade ship. The
Trade Federation, and Darth Maul was like, holy shit, who the fuck is he? But he wasn't even the main.
Exactly. And in the background there was this.
There had to be another Sith.
The big threat that's coming, that's set up. That's Palpatine. You see it. I don't remember if I knew that was Palpatine or not when I saw Darth Sidious.
Really?
When I first saw the movie. But anyway, you see there's Darth Sidious in the background. The main antagonist of that movie is Darth Maul and the Trade Federation and all this stuff. But there's this bigger thing in the background that's gonna eventually come to head. They didn't do that in this trilogy whatsoever.
Yeah.
They really needed to, and they would have, I think, if they knew they actually had made the decision of doing the Palpatine thing. I think they had it as we could do that.
We could do that maybe.
But
maybe once they were okay, Snoke's dead. I honestly didn't even. I thought that it would just be Kylo is my version. I will say this: my version of Episode 9 was not nearly as interesting.
So what do you think?
Well, I just I knew it was going to be the big final battle movie. I thought they would come up with some plot that they needed to accomplish, but I didn't see where it would go. I thought it would be more about gathering allies instead of just hoping that they show up. Because no one showed up at the end of 8, but then there's a hint that might change, and then they did change, but the movie wasn't about that. There's other stuff for that. I'm actually reading a book called Resistance Reborn right now. It just came out recently. And it's just about, it's like Poe and Snap Wexley, who died, by the way.
Was that the guy? Was that the dude from Heroes?
From Heroes, yeah. They finally fucking killed him. It sucks. But
he was funny in this movie.
Yeah, he was funny, and then they killed him.
It's great.
They killed him for being funny.
You won't believe how well things are
going. You won't. But so it's like those people. It's like they're trying to like get allies and stuff.
I liked that they were doing the. There's got to be a better word for it, because I keep calling it the scavenger hunt, which makes it seem like I don't like it, but I really love it. I love that.
It's what do you call it? A MacGuffin thing? There's a MacGuffin.
No, but it's not. I'm talking about not like that. There's an object that's important. They have to like in Coder. You had to travel and like follow clues to find a thing.
To find different things. Yeah, and I like that ultimately
location.
The goal was to go to Exegol, not that we have to find the thing because that will solve everything. It's like we have to find this thing because it'll tell us where Exegol is.
Yeah.
Because it's not an easy place to find. It's not. It's off. Like,
and I like. It reminded me a lot of Knights of the Old Republic 1.
Mm-hmm.
And you're trying to find the Starforge.
The Starforge, right? What was the plan number 2? What was like the crazy greenish planet?
That was Malachor.
Malachor?
Malachor 5.
You need to watch Rebels.
Is that in Rebels?
I don't.
Because it was a big Mandalorian war thing with the shadow.
I don't know if it's Malachor. They go to a planet that I think was mentioned, and anyway, we'll talk about that later. But anyway, yeah. So. It's an hour and 6 minutes, right? That's about right.
Watch the whole thing.
Yep.
You don't need to edit this even.
Mm-mm. This is almost half the movie. Half the length of the movie.
Let's keep going until we get the full movie.
Yeah, no. No, I'm tired though.
But I liked it.
But
for what it was.
But yeah.
But I really wish that they had decided they wanted to do the plots that they wanted to do before, so they set this up better.
Instead of it feeling like they had to play catch up.
And also they could have, even if they didn't do that, they definitely should have done a different way that Emperor and Rey were connected. Like a Force child instead of a little granddaughter. Because having kids doesn't really jive with the Emperor being who he is. It just doesn't make sense.
Ian McDiarmid was cool.
I really thought, you know how he was like sort of getting healed by sucking the life force or whatever? I thought it would have been really cool if he kept going until he was like this young but like super evil looking emperor. That would have been neat.
So for a while, I don't know if this is from an early part of the movie, but you know what rumor would not die was that Matt Smith was in the movie. I don't know if you
was he in the movie?
No. So you know what I think? He is from a version of the movie where you saw a young Palpatine at some point. I bet. I know he doesn't really look too much like him, but I bet it would have been cool. It would have been cool though. I was hoping to see, even though it was a big if. You know, like I knew it wasn't probably going to happen, but I was like, Matt Smith's in the movie. I thought he was definitely in the movie. So I was like, what if they do this scene with him killing Darth Plagueis? What if they like he goes through his history and it's like, yeah, he doesn't look too much like him, but he could like you know do something with him. But he's a good actor, so like that would have been cool. But no.
Cool. But it would have been cool to if he like became this ultra powerful and like young looking.
Because that would have been a nice little nod too to the Thrawn trilogy,
where he's
not Thrawn trilogy. Was it Dark Empire? Where the comic book series Dark Empire?
Oh yeah.
Where he like
clone
body. Yeah, he possesses a young version of himself. That a lot of people now says is silly, but I don't know. It would be kind of cool.
Considering what we've just seen. He had clones that he could possess.
Yeah.
I guess they don't like. Yeah, he was possessing Snoke. Snoke wasn't like a guy.
I wish they would have touched on the ring, because I bet that's how he was possessing him.
I don't think Snoke had a brain of his own.
No. The ring on his.
No, I know, but like, well, yeah, it could have been like the.
That's how he was.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe it's a little deeper than that. That's just my. I just feel like that his ring is too specific to like not mean anything, but I don't know. Maybe it doesn't mean anything. That's how this shit is. It's like you think something is meaningful, and just because it's not doesn't mean that it's wrong. It's just that maybe I'm just obsessing over little minute details.
Looking for a ring with Sith runes on it. It's not like
and also the obsidian is from the temple below Vader's castle. So I thought maybe that had something to do with Sith magic. That would, but no.
It would have made sense. But no. What if they call it at the very beginning how the Emperor's back? Sith cloning and Sith magic, and then they were like dark stuff that we don't know. It's like forbidden knowledge. Mm-hmm. I didn't like that line exactly because it makes it seem like they didn't know about cloning, which I know they obviously do know about cloning because of the Clone Wars that didn't happen that long ago. Yeah. And obviously they didn't. I hope that line was not trying to say and imply that the Clone Wars just ignore that. I hope it was like cloning plus other stuff that we didn't know about and stuff we don't understand. But the way that line is said makes it seem like clones? That's crazy. And it's like I feel like he's trying to be like, I don't want you to think about Attack of the Clones at all, and like it didn't happen.
And it's like, dude, that's not even the weird. Even people who don't like those movies don't
think
that the Clone Army, and they don't think the Clone Army part is the weird part. I think everyone's pretty much in agreement that Clone Troopers
maybe I'm like
awesome.
Sort of being a little paranoid about what JJ's
feelings are
and stuff, but he
just really
dislikes him so much that he's not going to any old planets from the prequel trilogy.
Which would have been cool. Like at the celebration at the end, seeing Naboo.
I thought I saw Naboo for a second. I was like, oh my god, that'd be so cool.
So you saw Bespin, Endor, and Jakku.
Yeah.
Jakku, where it would have been funny if you saw one guy going. And it's like, was there a big uprising on Jakku?
Yeah, they're like, they don't care. Jakku's.
I was like, if anywhere that the First Order is gonna still stick around, it's probably gonna be Jakku because no one gives a shit about. Like 10 years later, probably somebody show up and he's like, "Wait, you're still here?" And they're like, "Oh yeah, we ruled Jakku." I'm like, well, no one. There's no uprising. It's like, who the fuck is here to uprising against us? Like no one.
Just a bunch of people like looking.
Like we didn't go pick a fight, so nothing happened to us. Yeah. We're just here. We've just been living on the Star Destroyer, hovering above the planet.
Yeah.
I think it was about the symbolism of like, you see the downed Imperial Star Destroyer and you see the First Order Star Destroyer flying right next to it, or in the background or something. But they could have shown some other. I mean, it's the last movie. They could have had 10 fucking planets. Shit, I would have shown Utapau. I would have shown.
Ooh, that'd be cool. I mean,
I'm still waiting on Utapau in Battlefront 2. That's the one. That's my one. That's my number one.
I didn't know they were doing that.
No, I'm not. Stop.
Oh.
No, they could be. I'm just saying that's my number one prequel planet. I know everyone's like Coruscant or whatever, cool. But Utapau has enough varied terrain for me personally that it would be cool. But whatever.
I think as of right now, it's my favorite one of the new
ones.
I'll probably have to watch
of the trilogy though. Of this trilogy. Because your favorite one of all the new films is Rogue One, definitely. Right?
Oh yeah.
What's your catchphrase? Rogue One is
best one.
Rogue One's my number 2.
After Empire or after what?
New Hope.
Okay.
New Hope, Rogue One.
New Hope's not that good.
It is though. It's like perfect, pretty much.
It's not that good.
It's so good.
Empire's
We'll do
better.
a ranking video.
Empire's
sometime.
better.
I wanted to watch. We probably won't have time, but tomorrow morning would be cool. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if you watched it right now, but it'd be cool if maybe tomorrow morning we watch.
I'm going to bed.
I'm going to bed too.
So
if you want in the morning, we can watch Mandalorian.
Yeah.
But yeah, Rise of Skywalker. It was good. I'll have to watch it again though.
It was alright.
That's what he says about like every single movie. Fucking, it was alright.
Gotta keep my expectations low. See, this is what happens. I said.
He said it was. He said I really liked it.
Remember when you said X-Men Origins Wolverine was good, and I was like,
did I say that?
Yes, you did when you came out of the theater.
I was in denial, dude. I was in.
But you're in denial about every single movie you see.
No, but
first,
this is a different feeling than Wolverine. I promise you.
No, I'm not saying it's bad. It's definitely better than X-Men Origins Wolverine. Okay.
You know what? Actually, it only lasted a week, if anything, because when we saw Star Trek, the J.J. Abrams one, it made me realize how bad Wolverine was. Because
was that the same year?
It was a week apart.
Oh wow.
We went to go see it, and I was like, that should have opened the summer. That was way better than this.
JJ's, me and him have a complicated relationship.
He used to worship the ground that he walked on.
Yeah.
It's just, but Star Wars is also his baby too, so your baby too, so like.
JJ is a director that's sort of like.
He's infuriating sometimes.
He is. He's annoying.
Because he's really talented, you can tell, but he also has tendencies that infuriate me.
And he doesn't give a shit about some things, which is like, all right.
If you're taking on a franchise like that, why not just pretend to care for just some things?
Some things I like that he just doesn't care. Like some of the things in this movie that were like over the top. I was like, all right, he just doesn't care. And some of the dialogue, I think, didn't someone say cool in both Force Awakens and in this movie?
I don't remember in Force Awakens. But
I think Finn says cool.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Well, at one point he says, get a boyfriend, cute boyfriend.
Yeah.
In the first one.
He just said that.
And he's like, Jory, please.
Yeah. And like he doesn't care about like.
What is Star Wars dialogue?
Yeah, what is Star Warsy? It's just like.
I've accepted it. I've
And I kind of like that. It's just like.
Yeah.
It's like, fuck it, let's do it. But there's other things that. Just are a little too
modern.
Not modern, but like a little too jump the sharky. Like when they're on the Star Destroyer, are they even in the atmosphere?
No, they're on a planet.
I know they're
Star Destroyers are like hovering.
Yeah.
They're in the air.
But really high up.
Yeah,
okay.
But
I mean it works, but like
they're really high up.
They are really high up.
No, I'm knocked up. I'm really high. I'm really high up.
It works, but I don't know, some other things. I liked it, but I can see people being like, oh yeah, they can breathe up there.
Oh my god, people are dumb as shit.
I don't care so much about like physics and science when it comes to Star Wars. It's because it's Star Wars. It's not.
You don't really need to explain it though. Like they're high up, but they're not like so high that.
But George Lucas did do a little bit. That's why he created, in the first place, Darth Vader having a mask on.
I know, but then he was like, sound in space. Sure, why not? Because otherwise it would.
Yeah, but sound in space is like intuitive. Breathing in space is not intuitive.
Mm-hmm.
He also, well, not him because he didn't direct it, but he also has them wear masks when they get off the Millennium Falcon on the asteroid.
Right, and they're inside a worm.
Yeah, so it's not totally like, oh, it's just there's air everywhere.
You know what's funny?
It's totally. Speaking
of that, just before we wrap it up, there's a really funny thing that just will not die about Last Jedi. That because people are dumb. People are really dumb, so they're looking for things to hate about the movie, and so they start to attack like things that actually make sense as not making sense. The fucking bombers. No one's disputing that the bombers were really ineffective.
No, I know. Because there's no gravity, and they're like, oh, I don't care. It wouldn't work,
dude. All you need is forward momentum. If there's gravity, there's artificial gravity on the ship. you don't need magnet. They put magnets in the visual dictionary to explain it, like that they all like they're because you saw little red lights turn on them, and so you can assume that they're electronic of some kind, so they can just go towards the target. Right. But all you need is for momentum because they drop out of a thing, and
they can be pushed.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is that all you need is for if the bombs are dropping. And then they enter a zero-G environment. It doesn't matter because they wouldn't just suddenly go like that.
Yeah, if they would had internal. If the ship had its own does. It has its own internal gravity.
They already have forward momentum from the artificial gravity, but people are stupid, so they'll be just like, "It doesn't work," and you're just like, you don't know anything about space. So
I'm also like, why do you? There's so many things in Star Wars that.
Yeah, if you're gonna complain about that, why complain? Why not complain about again the worm thing? That doesn't work.
Yeah,
just having a mask on, just cause it's like, I mean, I'll accept.
You need a pressure suit in the face.
I'll accept a worm that has evolved to live on an asteroid. I won't easily accept someone who can just get out of a ship in space, even if they're on an asteroid.
Because you need a pressure suit in space, otherwise you'll explode.
Oh, but they're in a worm. It's like. So,
yeah,
the worm's fine because obviously the worm lives there, so you can just assume that the worm has evolved. Dude, there's freaking space whales and rebels, so and Clone Wars, so you can just assume that there's life forms that evolved in space. So whatever, but people.
The thing in Solo is cool.
Weird. Oh, that freaking tentacle thing during the Kessel Run. Yeah, it's good. Sure, but why aren't people complaining about because gravity, the things wouldn't fall, and it's like, oh my god,
they would keep falling if they were falling already.
Not only are they electronic, not only is there forward momentum, but they weren't really they were kind of in the upper atmosphere of the planet, so no one complained about Revenge of the Sith, the big space battle, because everyone kind of assumed, they're not quite in space, they're kind of hovering above the planet really high up, so ships can fall when they get
Yeah,
no one complained back then.
They would complain about the whole movie.
That's what I'm saying. They're just looking for. I'm just saying, if you're going to complain about it, complain about the things that are.
That's what people do. If they don't like a thing, they don't like anything about it.
Yeah.
When people don't like the ending of The Matrix or Mass Effect,
they start to look for every single thing.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense because of this, and that's not why it's bad. You can dislike it, but disliking that. Saying that part of it doesn't make sense.
Yeah, dislike the movie is fine, but just don't.
Or Lost, and they were dead the whole time. That's not what happened.
How many times?
So you can hate it all you want.
Literally, Christian tells them, no.
Yeah. You can hate it all you want, but that's not the reason you shouldn't dislike it, because that's not what occurred.
Long story short, people are not intelligent. Anyway, so
especially
that was our review. I'll see if I can edit through this. But yeah. Star Wars. It was fun. Let's go see it again. Bye.